Chapter 1 The Sewa Palace. You are listening at FameTV.info. Chapter 1 Qinghe Gong Shang July 1182, morning, the rainwater keeps dripping down the eaves, water droplets hit the ground, smashed, splashed, some flew in the air, and some landed on the brown corner surface. On the wall under the eaves, two people are standing at this time. A man with a thin body, no more than 10 years old, with a red complexion, wearing a blue Taoist robe that was washed white. His long black hair was tied into a bun, and a wooden brown crescent crown was inserted. Rough, unpolished corners can also be seen on the edge of the crown. Standing opposite him is a beautiful woman with a veil, bright eyes and fair complexion. The woman has a slender figure, wearing a plain white skirt that only reaches the mid-thigh, revealing her fair skin. She wears knee-length brown leather boots and an emerald-green belt made of jade leather around her waist. Rong Fong, I may go to Dadu in a while, and I may not be able to see you often in the future. The woman/'s voice was soft and clear, as clean as a mountain stream. Didn't you promise me that you wouldn't go to a company that Dumoran again? The man gritted his teeth, almost squeezing out a voice. I promised you. The woman nodded, so I am not with Dameron now. She sighed softly and turned to look at the dense forest in the rain curtain outside the eaves. And the dark green and brown forest, the wind blows this branch constantly shaking, the sound of rushing and the sound of crackling raindrops are mixed together, and it is impossible to distinguish each other. In life, if you want to avoid being bullied, you must try your best to climb up. Do you still not understand this truth? The woman said softly. I don't want to do this either, but what else can I use as a bargaining chip besides this beauty? At least, I am much luckier than other mediocre women, at least I still have hope of turning over. She opened the shackle from the small bag at the back waist, took out an item wrapped in light butter paper, and handed it to the man. Father and mother left early. We are the only two brothers and sisters left in this world to depend on each other. Rong Fong, this is what I have saved over the past few years, you take it. She handed over the oiled paper bag. In the past few years, since she figured it out, the woman finally sold everything to the man at a suitable price, and also exchanged for the safety of her brother and herself, as well as food and clothing. Also, in this paper bag, there is something that my brother has wanted for a long time. The woman thought of this, and the other hand unconsciously pressed the skin on the back of her thigh, through the skirt. I can feel the pain, for that thing. She gave up her dignity and became someone else/s plaything. But it/s worth it. These money, plus that thing, should be enough for her brother/s food and clothing for many years after she left. Take it, don't worry, I/ll let us live. Snapped, the man slapped the oil paper bag with a slap in the face. The oil paper bag was smashed with great force and rolled into the rain curtain. It rolled several times on the wet mud ground, and a stack of banknotes and copper coins of different sizes were scattered. Who wants your dirty money? The man suddenly raised his head and shouted, do you think you won no, if you don't tell others. Do you think you can live a good life with money? What do you think you do all day long? No one knows about it. Do you know what other people are saying about you behind your back? You don't know anything. It/s fun to be played with, isn it. You re shameless, and I want shame. How did our parents teach us? You forgot all about it. I, Zhang Rongfang, will never recognize you as sister from now on. Now take your dirty money and get out of here. Snapped that he slapped the woman hard. Turned around and left, and soon disappeared into the depths of the forest in the rain. The woman was stunned for a moment, her right cheek was flushed red and slowly swollen, but she couldn't care less, hurried out of the eaves, ran to the paper bag that was knocked out, and squatted down to pick up the banknotes one by one from the ground. She picked it up very carefully, but unfortunately, the rain and muddy water, plus a few laps on the ground. Still, most of the old banknotes were confused and rotten. These rotten and mushy ones cannot be used, they can only be discarded. This means that most of her previous efforts were wasted. the woman picked it up, and suddenly a drop of water dropped on the back of her hand, but the water drop did not seem to be a raindrop, tears blurred her vision, and muddy water was on her hands. Don_T blame him, he is still young, he is ignorant and does not know the importance of money, and he will wait until later. She didn't_T go on, she just wrapped the money and things back in the oiled paper bag, squatted there, drenched in the rain, her voice choked and muttered, she didn't_T know what to say. Daling 1183, February, Pinyu Road, Huaxin County, Qinghe Palace. The cross-shaped red flower swayed gently in the wind on the tree, and a drop of dew fell from the end of the petal. Dewdrops fell, streaked across the tree more than 10 meters high, and smashed lightly on a person's cheek. The Taoist reached out and rubbed his face, closed his eyes, picked up the yellow gourd in his hand, and sniffed at the mouth. A gourd is drunk on Haitangzu in spring, and a gourd is drunk before its fragrance. This wine really deserves to be the famous gourd wine. You can smell it and feel comfortable throughout the body. He looked intoxicated and emotional. Holding the gourd and looking up, drinking like a drink, imagining that wine is pouring out of the empty gourd. That in front of the Taoist is a black and white Tai Chi dojo, which is square, surrounded by white walls and stands with flowers and trees. A dozen or so young Taoists are sitting cross-legged in the dojo, chanting scriptures. Bamboo is broken and needs to be filled with bamboo, and the eggs are used for holding chickens. All kinds of labor are not in vain, and they are like real lead and holy machines. A group of young Taoists recited the scriptures in a singing melody, and there were 2 Taoists beside them, one holding an imperial bell, Taoist hand rattle, the other playing a small drum, echoing the accompaniment of each other. In the corner, a young Taoist with slightly dark skin and a little thin, was opening and closing his mouth, but no sound came out. Apparently the person was just lip-syncing. He was dressed in a dark blue Taoist uniform, with a crescent-shaped wooden Taoist crown on his head, and his face was dull. Appears to be chorus, but in reality there is chaos in his mind. It has been more than 10 days since he came to this world, and Zhang Rongfang is still in a daze, unable to adapt to the life here. One night, he simply closed his eyes, opened them again, and changed places. After more than 10 days of observation, Zhang Rongfang collected all kinds of information quietly, and probably figured out a little of the situation here. Here is a huge kingdom called the Great Spirit, and the area where he is located is a small Taoist temple in the mountains west of Daling. The Taoist temple is called Qinghe Palace. There are hundreds of Taoist priests living in the square Taoist temple. He Zhang Rongfang is one of them. Taoist priests have morning and evening classes every day. In addition to chanting scriptures, they do chores. Occasionally, a few Taoist priests can be seen practicing Taoist exercises. But, after inquiring carefully, Zhang Rongfang realized that the Taoist exercises in this world have no exaggerated effects, and are mainly created for longevity and health preservation. There is no magic weapon, and no flying with the sword. The Taoist priests here practice Taoism. The only benefit is that they are in good health and less sick. They can occasionally treat others, which is called Qigong therapy. As the saying goes, after seeing several Taoist palaces, it is said that Zhang Rongfang gave up his mind completely after he was said to be a highly skilled Taoist. Decades of practice, that is, to make these old Taoists healthy, red-faced, running fast, vigorous, and the rest is nothing special. Following the Qi Forging Sutra after the morning class, a group of Taoist priests sat in silence for a while before getting up one after another amid the sound of the bell. If you want to go to the fire room, hurry up. There is a distinguished person visiting this morning. Everyone should take their heads out. Don_T be as lazy as usual. The senior brother in charge of supervising the morning class shouted loudly with a whisk in hand. You can _T get a fire if you go early. The firewood is almost exhausted, and you haven't _T made up for it. You screaming. You know it /s called all day long, and the master doesn't /T say anything. The fat white Taoist priest muttered in a low voice. The fat Taoist glanced at Zhang Rongfang. Lao Fang, why don't /T you help me do it together? I/LL give you this number. He stretched out his hand and pointed his index finger. 10-1. Zhang Rongfang understood. No, I have something to do today. Oh, you /re going to the letter room to get the letter, right? The fat Taoist priest called Pang Zhong, who laughed when he heard the words /s just that there seems to be something different in his smile. Zhang Rongfang ignored it. After he came to this world, he inherited the memory of his predecessor to some extent, knowing that both his parents had died, and he also had an older sister, but now her older sister has also gone to the distant Dadu, and now she has also cut off contact, and it seems that he left on his own initiative, ran to Qing in Gong to become a Taoist priest, and then disconnected. He left the dojo, followed the side corridor, and walked all the way to the writing room. The corridor on the road is a back shaped, linking 3 dojos. In one of the dojos, 3 or 5 pairs of disciples wearing Taoist robes, leggings and hands are training each other. Zhang Rongfang glanced from a distance. The Taoists on the field were only practicing ordinary boxing that has no inner qi, except that it is a little louder than the average person. The rest is normal. An imperceptible black line flashed in his eyes. After a while, rows of game-like attribute data appeared above the heads of each Taoist in the field. Wang Ingshir, Life 11.15, Skill. Rejuvenation and Pure Time Talisman, 7th Mountain Type Talisman. /Xia Zhao. Life 12.13, Skill. Rejuvenation Pure Time Talisman. 5th Hunyuan Talisman. Chen Dashi, Life 11.14, Skill. Rejuvenation Cleansing Time Talisman, 7th Mountain Type Talisman. The information of each Taoist appeared in Zhang Rongfang eyes. He lowered his head and looked at himself. Zhang Rongfang. Life 8.9, Skill. None. Available properties. 0. There are small yellow plus signs behind his own life and skills. Obviously, this is the same as the games he played in his previous life, which can be forcibly improved with attribute points. This ability looks a lot like a game, but Zhang Rongfang prefers to regard it as a mutation ability. Because of this ability, it didn't /t appear at the beginning, but as he learned about the outside world, the more information he collected, the more he gradually perfected it. Name, life, skills, all come from this, and this world is not like a game, because it is too real. After more than 10 days of thinking and analysis, collecting data, and testing, Zhang Rongfang found that the only way to increase attributes is to eat. The better you eat, the more nutritious you are, and the faster you accumulate attribute points. He has passed the test and got a little attribute, which is added to life. Therefore, his life can be improved from the original 7.8 to 8.9. In this Qinghe Palace, where the lives of ordinary Taoists are 8.9, Zhang Rongfang has reached the average level. Walking through the corridor, he quickly found a small room. The room is a wooden house built alone at the entrance of the corridor. It is full of various letter packages and is guarded by a half-squinted old Taoist. The old Taoist was sitting in front of the door with his back against the wall, smoking a dry cigarette in his hand. Senior brother Su, take my letter. Zhang Rongfang clasped his fists and saluted Demar. Su stretched out his hand and hurried from behind, pulled out a package, opened it, and took out a rough yellow envelope from the inside. Zhang Rongfang took it, clasped his fists again, turned around and walked towards the bungalow area where the disciples lived. As he walked, he tore open the envelope and took out the letter. The letter contained only a very small line, and a small denomination banknote was attached. Above is the number of 101, the sender is Xialongju, a checkbox. End of this chapter. Listen to the full novel at FameTV.info, direct link in the description.